Hello and welcome back to Satellite 2021. My name is Jeffrey Hill, chair of the Satellite Show. I'm here live at the Via Satellite booth. And joining me for a refresher conversation is my good friend here, Bill Milroy, CTO and chairman of ThinKom. Bill, good to see you once again.
Thank you, Jeff.
Bill is my go-to expert on ground systems technology. We've done several webinars. You've been on several panels. And at ThinKom, you are working on some pretty groundbreaking technology. And I hope you were just to catch me up on what's going on with your VIX antenna. Okay. So just as a refresher, just for those who aren't familiar, could you give us a brief overview of how the VIX antenna system works and how it differs from some of the other ones that we've talked about in this video and others? Yeah.
Sure. So the VIX is a phased array, but it's a mechanical phased array. So it has two disks that rotate relative to each other, driven by a non-contacting brushless, really an induction motor. So that's key to getting reliability. And one of the things we're most proud of is our reliabilities are proven. We're on some 24 million hours flight time with our system with a 100,000 hour MTBF, which is pretty much that's the top of the heap in any time before failure. So some of the distinctions, and we have a lot of respect for our ESA competitors, electronic scan antennas, and they use a lot of different creative approaches, metamaterials, transformable optics, liquid crystals, and they're all very interesting. So I very much enjoy those from a fellow practitioner in the area, but I do feel like we have a sustainable edge. So whenever you come to a show, you're always looking for the next thing in terms of a competitive assessment. So specifically what we do, I think, a little bit better is we're quite a bit more efficient. So we're 2 to 8 times more efficient, meaning we require a lot less area, or for the same area, we get a lot more performance. Mm-hmm. Our channel bandwidth is wider than most of these systems. So that's becoming a trend in the industry, because as we move to higher and higher bandwidth HTS type systems, whether they be on GSO or NGSO, we need to bring that extra capability to that. The system also scans to very low scan angles and is capable and available in all sorts of different markets.
Last year, or for 2020, ThinKom won the Via Satellite Technology of the Year award for your gateway antenna array. Can you bring us up to date on this technology? Any new developments here?
Sure. So yeah, that was the last time we were at the Satellite Show, when the DC Health Department chased us out at on the last day. And it's so great to be back, and the show is going really well. I hope you guys feel we're delighted. So nevertheless, yes, we won for our gateway system, our thin wave system, which takes our VIX technology, which we just alluded to, which is extremely affordable and very efficient, so it's small, uses those as a basis, and then we digitally combine those to create the equivalent of much larger antennas. By much larger, I mean 3 meter, 5 meter, 7 meter parabolic dishes, and that allows us to be reconfigurable. And a big theme, I think, this year, you're always looking for the keywords, would be this whole software defined is kind of the key. I think software defined now became digitalization and virtualization. Right. And so that is spot on. We didn't really realize at the time, but that's spot on in what we're hearing from the ground infrastructure people, what they want. They want a system that can be reconfigurable on the fly, software definable, and that's exactly what that gateway system is doing now. And we'll be fielding our first product here, not too near long future.
I hope you noticed that this morning I looked up, I realized we had 3 minutes left of the general session. I was like, I got to talk about software defined in the cloud. And yeah, it is a huge talk. Fortunately, we have several sessions here that are going to deal with software in space. Just a few weeks ago, ThinKom announced a new payload antenna for satellites and other space vehicles. I understand you have a prototype here at Satellite.
That's right. We have that on display. So that's a 30 centimeter VIX array, same technology. But the same things we learned on the airline industry, that you want things that are important, or you want to be low size, very highly reliable, low prime power, so you don't create a lot of heat. Well, it turns out satellite payloads, particularly smaller satellites, that's exactly what they need as well. So with that in mind, we've created a smaller form factor. This is actually a 30 centimeter VIX array, and only weighs about 3.5 kilograms. So that is light enough to be on the lightest, even the smallest satellites. And that brings us the equivalent of like a 12 to 15 inch parabolic dish. But remember, I mentioned about the prime power, and there's a lot of good companies here now breaking through into the satellite payload ESA markets. But same thing here. If you look at them, we have a lot of respect for them, but they require a lot of prime power. And of course, on a satellite, particularly a small satellite, which is very power limited, generally running off batteries, it's so important to be efficient. And that we'll actually be orbiting that antenna next year.
Excellent, excellent. You also made a recent big announcement for the Telesat's Lightspeed LEO network. You're going to provide antennas for use on the network. Can you give us some more details about that?
Yeah, we've been doing that, like all press releases, it's one we wanted to do for some time, but we weren't at liberty to do. So we're so excited to work with the Lightspeed network, because even with their first 298 satellite system, that's going to be capable, their numbers, not ours, of doing 200 megabit per second up and 800 megabit per second down to each plane. So that's kind of game changing. Yeah. And that's using our KA2517 system, which is already in Inmarsat GX, GX Plus, meaning working with Hughes as well. Yeah. So it's great, because we think the other theme here is this interoperability, not only between GSO satellites, but between NGSOs and GSOs. Trying to remove stovepiping gets back to the digitalization, the virtualization, the open standard type approach. And we're really trying to walk that talk at ThinKom. And it's just there's nothing, we could talk about data rates and this is nifty and reliability, but there's nothing better than a large company adopting your antenna to show that you must be doing something right. Yeah. And I want to point out, we also just had a press release yesterday, also with Panasonic. So after a lot of work, we've been working with Panasonic for some time in the stealth mode, but Panasonic has just adopted our KU version of our system for Panasonic aircraft, which is a huge, it's so exciting for us.
Excellent, congratulations. This is an example that I don't get to see the news from my own show, because I'm always doing MC work, and so that's really exciting. And the Telesat announcement was really exciting too, because as soon as they announced that system in details, all of us were like, oh, I can't wait to unravel the mystery of what terminals they're going to use. And sure. So I know you were eager to put out that announcement. Also, I know that you are now offering your VIX antenna for operation on higher frequencies. Did you decide to do? Why did you decide to go in this direction? Sure. Do you see a growth market for Q and V bands?
Well, I think the answer is yes. Yeah. You probably knew I was going to say that. But and I don't think Q and V band are going to replace C band, KU, KA band. But the fact of the matter is, KU band has about 2.5 gigahertz of bandwidth. KA has about 5 gigahertz of bandwidth. But gosh, those used to be the domains of just the GSO players. Right. But now that you get more and more GSO players, and but now all the NGSOs are using those bands. And even make it worse, it's maybe similar to what's happened with C band in the satellite, which is that whole story in itself. Is there's a lot of push, the same transmit frequencies that are used for KA, for NGSO satellites, for GSO satellites, the 27.5 to 30 band, are now being claimed by terrestrial users, because hey, they say that's 5G millimeter wave. That's not. Why are satellites using that? Right. We need to use that for terrestrial. So the net result is, I think people are going to push to higher bands. And the Q and the V band represents 10 gigahertz of unspent bandwidth. Now, those are starting off with gateways. A lot of the systems are going for gateways, but those same bands will be used for user beams as well. And those will enable much wider pipes. And I obviously, I wouldn't bring it up if I didn't think it was a strength of ours, but we've already flown Q band systems. And we've built our systems all the way up through W band, 94 gigahertz, and flown them. So we feel very comfortable about Q and V band, and we think that that's going to be hopefully another discriminator, positive discriminator for us.
You will always have work to do. The work will never be done. I said that this morning to our panelists, like in terms of ground systems, will they ever be powerful enough? Or you're always going to be innovating, because these systems are going to become more and more powerful. The needs are going to become greater and greater.
Sort of insatiable appetite for
Absolutely.
bandwidth.
Absolutely. So, finally, Bill, thank you so much for joining us. Just one last thing, if you could look into your crystal ball, tell me the future of SATCOM technology in the market. Like, what do you see in the future? What kind of is there excitement? Are there more challenges than opportunities? What do you see?
Well, of course, that whole theme of being interoperative between NGSOs and GSOs, and what that means for digitalization and visualization, I think will be really key. That's going to drive us to more open standards. But I think those standards, as we reuse these bands more and more, and they're getting more and more congested, I think the whole regulatory framework is going to change, and it's going to be very interesting. There's a lot of uncertainty regulatory-wise, and if you will, we're riding kind of a little bit ahead of our headlights in terms of putting these systems up. And when we start to get interference, and you kind of know we will, what's going to happen? We think from an antenna standpoint, which we're really the first responder in that area, is to make sure we keep our emissions, our side lobes very, very low. And the regulatory requirements are getting tighter all the time, and they're not necessarily being grandfathered. So we think that's a big trend. We talked about the trends to the larger frequency bands, but it's just exciting. Just as everyone's been saying at the show, it's an exciting time to be in this market right now.
Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining us. ThinKom is here at Satellite 2021. They are Technology of the Year winner from 2020. Lots of announcements and new developments since winning that award. Bill, I know you're really busy. You're moderating a panel. You're having meetings here. Thank you so much for taking some time to just
thank you,
provide a
Jeff,
quick
and to the
update.
whole of our satellite group. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and check out more of our videos on Via Satellite and more of our activities here at Satellite 2021.